Hi, my name is Jeongsuk, and today I'd like to present data-driven DevOps, code traceability from store readiness to DORA metrics with OpenAI. I'd like to cover two agendas like on the screen. The first thing, the first one is for data-driven DevOps, and the second one is store readiness. Before I start for the presentation, I'd like to mention two things which are covered this presentation and which are not covered in this presentation. The first thing I would like to cover is how to interpret the data with LLM, and this is the main purpose I wanted to present for today. The second one is a technical value stream that I will be covered a part of lead time for changes. Then, third one is a systematic requirements description, and this will be mentioned in the story readiness. On the other hand, I will not cover for the three topics within this presentation. The first, in-depth LLM technologies, because you can see a lot of other presentations in API days, and it's not meaningful to mention it again in here. The second thing is a branching or testing strategies. Of course, those two things are very important in terms of DevOps, but those topics are very heavy. So it's not suitable to cover all within 20 minutes. Last one is detailed statistical analysis techniques, because the purpose of this presentation at this time is just generating the data analytics report with very few number of datasets. Let's start for the first topic, which is DORA metrics. A lot of people in here already know what is the DORA metrics. There are four factors to measure: deployment frequency, lead time for changes, time to restore services, and change failure rate. Except lead time for changes, rest of three factors are relatively easy to calculate. So many companies are already captured those four key metrics and showing them through dashboards or BI tools. But here is a question. Is it enough to show four key metrics with graphs and tables to understand what all four indicators are conveying? I'd like to say it's not. To handle with DORA metrics, there are two typical problems. The first thing is generating those metrics from the team. But they have a lack of data or statistical analysis resources. Once we show a trend for metrics, even just displaying numbers with some kinds of descriptive statistics, usually stakeholders doesn't know how to interpret it. So that's the reason why data or statistical analysts to interpret them then explain what it means. But DevOps team usually consists of engineers, so they don't provide any insights. It connects to the situation become less valuable due to a lack of understanding from non-IT stakeholders. To solve the problem and provide a better understanding from business stakeholders, we can consider two options. The first option is to hire an analyst or borrow an analyst from other teams. The second option is to use LLM services such as OpenAI, Gemini, or whatever. Of course, those two solutions have clear benefits and limitations. Analysts usually provide professional insights, but there are not that much analytics tasks in DevOps teams. So it is impractical just to cover DevOps metrics. Also, it needs high hiring and maintaining costs to keep this human resource. On the other hand, using LLM services can deliver basic analysis with low or no costs. For instance, we can get an analytics report with no cost using ChatGPT and also get the report with very low cost with less than $1 when we use OpenAI APIs. But this approach also has a limitation that just provides an intuition based on the generally accepted knowledge on the internet. So it gives less quality reports compared with professional analysts. From now on, let's start to talk with ChatGPT. My first prompt is shown on the screen. I provided 3 years of data for DORA metrics and I asked ChatGPT to suggest the analytics report outlines. Here is an answer from ChatGPT and suggests total 9 contents for the report. It seems like a very well-formed outlines and enough categories to write the report. But did you find what the problem is from the answer? Let's come back to the answer again. I expect ChatGPT to provide only general recommendations because I didn't provide any organization-specific qualitative data. To include this section, I would need to collect more data from our ecosystems such as GitHub, Jira, ServiceNow, and GitHub Actions. But I don't have any plan to input this data into my AI assistant at the moment, because a lot of companies hesitate to provide those details information to ChatGPT. Let's look at contents from 1 to 9 once again. Once you see on the screen, there are 3 blue boxes. Those contents are only available once I provide our company-specific information, but I have no plan to provide those information as I mentioned earlier. That's the reason why those 3 contents will get rid of my report. I want to get rid of number 7 and 9 from my report. A lot of companies have already implemented for number 7, so we don't need to do it once again. For number 9, the main reader for this report is from non-technical stakeholders with a little technical background, so this appendix just prolongs the report without any values. This is the final index of the contents. Instead of positioning for the executive summary at the end, I changed the position to the front because typical analytics reports start from the executive summary. Because the senior management people are not that much have a time to read briefly, so provide the summary first, then go into the detailed contents if they are interested in. I also add an introduction and conclusion to give some background information and detailed summary. This is the result of the final prompt engineering I just captured for the front and end of the report. Even if you see the part of the report, it is really structured report from ChatGPT. If you wish to look at the full prompt and report, you can scan a QR code on the screen, then can check it through Medium website. Of course, ChatGPT generates very impressive report, but there are 2 limitations. The first limitation is limited statistical analytics because we didn't give any enough data to the system. If I wanted to get a trend descriptive analytics and null hypothesis validation from ChatGPT, I have to provide statistical enough number of datasets. For instance, once I try to check some normality, I need to provide at least 30 numbers based on central limit theorem. The second limitation is a general DevOps context. As I mentioned earlier, many companies hesitate to provide their own information with their ecosystem. That's the reason why ChatGPT only uses general DevOps references from the internet, then start to write the report with general consensus. In conclusion, many of the companies focus on data generation rather than extracting meaningful insights. That's the reason why there is a lack of understanding for our valuable DORA metrics from business stakeholders. LLM can help to generate analytics report as you've seen the sample report before. But LLM is not a silver bullet, and it is still required to provide extra information from your ecosystem if you want to produce more impactful report. But here is another question. To measure read time for changes, we need technical value stream mapping. But what's the crucial step? What's the crucial first step to make this happen? As I mentioned earlier, it is not easy to measure for lead time for changes unlikely to list of other factors. I'd like to start to talk where is the starting point of lead time for changes and how improve it with OpenAI. Technical value stream is a key to measure lead time for changes, so I'd like to tell relationship between DevOps and technical value stream. A lot of cloud or consulting companies says that DevOps is a cultural transition. When I worked as a DevOps consultant, I also continuously emphasized that DevOps is a cultural transition. A company's workflow reflects the logical implementation of their culture and melds the culture into each process. Then, in software engineering, this is represented by the technical value stream and it runs on top of agile culture in nowadays. A requirement engineering is an agile world start from user stories. So I'd like to talk reason to focus on user stories. Software engineering starts from requirements from stakeholders and they always wanted to track how their requirements are going. The visibility of the flows from requirements to engineering result is called code traceability, and it is managed by user stories in Agile world. That's the reason why user stories are really important, and we need to think how make well-formed user story. I define this as a story readiness with four conditions. The first one is a logical feasibility. We are very logical people and we are not doing an art with engineering. So user stories should be written as logically reasonable. For the next two things are related to story structures that clearly define the sections and structured language with working syntax. Last one is the story connectivity. If a story if a story provides some related links from previously delivered stories, it would be really helpful to understand stories from engineers. This is the communication process with OpenAI when I did the prompt engineering. It starts from Jira API to get a user story contents, then put it into the first prompt to ask a story readiness. Once I got a result from the prompt, I started branching and iterations to get a better and well-structured user story. I just gave a limitation that it will tries maximum 3 times to manage API consumption costs. Inside the iteration, I put a prompt to provide Jira JQA that OpenAI wants to check information from Jira. Then it calls through Python function, then attach the result into the feedback prompt, which is written as repeat prompt on the script. Then check it again that the story is ready to deliver. Finally, Write a comment in Jira about the result of story readiness analysis with enhanced Gherkin syntax for the existing story. This is the sample communication result. I tried to write an user story with Gherkin syntax, but I intentionally missed one logical condition in the scope. Then, a result shows that readiness is false due to a missing explanation for condition 111. This is what I expect from OpenAI. Here is findings during developing this prompt engineering. The OpenAI-based approach outperforms ChatGPT because of the ability to adjust the temperature settings. ChatGPT doesn't support to adjust the temperature, but OpenAI support. I have to work with the most logical approaches, so I reduce the creativities from OpenAI as much as possible. Next, it effectively checks readiness and helps to reshape story structures with Gherkin syntax. As you've seen before, the prompt checks any logical ambiguities and it makes developers more clear to define technical or business logics into their system. But even if it is more affordable solution than hiring a business analyst, it still comes with a cost. During developing this prompt structure, it requires to pay from USD 3 to 6 cents per each story. It is not a big cost once you look at just one story, but if you think how many stories are generated from your company as daily basis, it would be the main consideration point because of increasing it like snowballs. Here is the final summary for the presentation. We have enough data points to show our DevOps activities with DORA metrics as a key example. LLM can help provide value from those DORA metrics data points. Among the data metrics indicator, lead time for changes is a key indicator that measuring cultural transition through the technical value stream. The value stream typically begins with requirements written as user stories. We also have seen relationship flow from DevOps definition to technical value stream during the presentation. Improving the clarity of user story definition can help enhance read time in your value stream. It defined this clarity as a story readiness. This is the end of the presentation. Thank you for attending my presentation and feel free to message me if you have any questions through my LinkedIn after this event. Thank you.